Right now, at this very moment, 80 to 100 million Americans are in the path of what could become one of the most destructive winter storms in recent memory. And if you live anywhere from Texas to New England, the next 72 hours will determine whether you are about to face a catastrophic ice storm or a historic blizzard that will shut down entire cities. This is not a drill. This is not another winter weather event that fizzles out. The models are converging. The signals are strengthening. And what we are seeing develop over the next 5 days could rewrite the weather history books for the 2025 to 2026 winter season. Here is what you need to understand immediately. A massive winter storm system is organizing right now over the central United States. By Friday, January 23rd, this system will begin unleashing a combination of heavy snow, crippling ice, and bone-chilling temperatures across a 2,000-mile swath of the country. We are talking about winter storm conditions stretching from Denver, Colorado, all the way to Boston, Massachusetts. But here is the twist that makes this storm so dangerous. This is not just a snow event. This is not just an ice event. This is a dual threat system where the difference between 12 inches of snow and 2 inches of catastrophic ice accumulation could be decided by just 50 miles. And right now, we cannot tell you with 100% certainty which side of that line you are on. Drop a comment right now with your city and state. Tell us where you are watching from. Because in the next 24 hours, we are going to have much more specific information about exactly what your area should expect. And we want to make sure you get a personalized forecast update. Let me paint the picture of what is developing. The National Weather Service has issued a Day 5 outlook, and this is where things get serious. There is a 15% probability zone for winter storm conditions that covers an absolutely massive area. We are talking about a zone that includes Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, and extends all the way through Kentucky and into portions of the Mid-Atlantic. Now, 15% might not sound high, but in meteorology, when you see a 15% probability 5 days out for winter storm conditions covering this much territory, that is a red flag. That is the Weather Prediction Center telling you to pay very close attention. Here is what is happening atmospherically, and this is critical to understanding why this storm is so potentially dangerous. We have a tremendous amount of cold air that has already settled in across the central and eastern United States. I am talking about Arctic air, the kind that brings morning temperatures of 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. But at the same time, we have a storm system that is going to tap into Gulf of Mexico moisture. Warm, humid air is going to ride up and over that cold air mass. And where those two air masses collide, we get what meteorologists call a transition zone. In that transition zone, you do not get pure snow. You do not get pure rain. You get the worst possible combination: freezing rain and sleet. And here is why that matters. 1/10 of an inch of ice can make roads impassable. 1/4 inch of ice starts bringing down tree branches. 1/2 inch of ice brings down power lines. And if we are talking about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch of ice accumulation, we are talking about catastrophic, widespread, multi-day power outages in the middle of January. And some models are suggesting that ice accumulations of that magnitude are possible across parts of Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and even into portions of Virginia and North Carolina. Now, I want to be very clear about something. We are not fear-mongering here. We are not trying to scare you. But we are 4 days away from an event that has the potential to strand thousands of people, shut down major highways, and leave hundreds of thousands without power in sub-freezing temperatures. So you need to know what is coming. Here is your first reward for watching this far. At the 5-minute mark, I am going to show you the exact temperature forecast that has meteorologists genuinely concerned. We are talking about wind chills that could reach minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of the upper Midwest, and how that cold air is going to interact with this storm system in ways that could make this even more dangerous than current forecasts suggest. But first, let me walk you through the timeline, because timing is everything with this storm. Friday, January 23rd, late afternoon and evening. This is when the first precipitation begins to break out across Oklahoma and Kansas. Current model guidance suggests that Oklahoma City could see snow beginning around 5 o'clock p.m. Friday evening. Wichita, Kansas, similar time frame. But here is the concerning part. The GFS model, which is one of our primary forecast models, is painting a very troubling picture for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We could be looking at freezing rain beginning Friday evening and continuing through Saturday across North Texas. And I am not talking about a light glaze. Some model runs are suggesting significant ice accumulation is possible. Now, could that change? Absolutely. Will we have better clarity tomorrow? Yes. But if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to be preparing for the possibility of a significant ice storm. As we move into Friday night and early Saturday morning, the precipitation shield expands dramatically. We are now looking at winter weather from eastern Oklahoma through Arkansas into Tennessee and beginning to push into Kentucky and southern Illinois. This is where the forecast gets really complicated. In the northern sections of this precipitation shield, we are likely looking at accumulating snow. Places like Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, these areas have a legitimate shot at seeing significant snowfall. How much? That is the million-dollar question. Some models are printing numbers in the 6 to 12-inch range. One model run showed over a foot of snow for portions of southern Indiana and Kentucky. But here is the gut punch. If you are just 50 to 100 miles south of that snow line, you are not getting snow. You are getting ice. Pure, destructive, power outage-inducing ice. Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, Nashville, Tennessee. These are major metropolitan areas with millions of people that are right on the edge of that transition zone. And right now, we cannot tell you definitively which side you are going to be on. Saturday into Sunday, this is when the storm really intensifies and begins to impact the mid-Atlantic and potentially the Northeast. And this is where things could get really interesting from a snow perspective. The storm system is forecast to move off the southeast coast and then potentially interact with another area of low pressure to form what we call a nor'easter. Now, if that happens, if these two systems phase together correctly, we could be looking at a major snowstorm for Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and potentially New York City. How much snow? The national blend of models, which averages together the European model, the GFS, the Canadian model, all of the major forecast models, is currently showing over 12 inches of snow possible for Richmond, Virginia. Some individual model runs have printed close to 24 inches for parts of central Virginia. Now, let me be very clear. Those are not forecasts. Those are possibilities. And the range of outcomes here is enormous. We could see Richmond get 18 inches of snow, or we could see Richmond get 2 inches of ice. Both are on the table right now. What determines which one happens? It comes down to the track of the storm. If the low-pressure center tracks 50 miles further east, we are talking about a major snowstorm for the I-95 corridor. If it tracks 50 miles further west, we are talking about more of a rain and ice event. And we will not know which scenario is more likely until we get better model data over the next 24 to 48 hours. Here is something that is making forecasters nervous. This storm is going to be slow-moving. We are not talking about a system that races through in 12 hours. This is going to be a multi-day event. The Day 7 outlook from the Weather Prediction Center still shows a 15% probability of winter storm conditions from Virginia all the way up through Boston on Monday, January 26th. That means some areas could see winter weather beginning Friday evening and continuing through Monday morning. We are talking about a 60-hour-plus event in some locations. Now, let me talk about the cold, because even if you miss the snow, even if you miss the ice, you are not missing the cold. What is coming behind this storm system is a truly Arctic air mass. I am not talking about normal January cold. I am talking about dangerous, life-threatening cold in some locations. Friday morning, January 23rd, Chicago, Illinois, minus 9 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the actual air temperature, not the wind chill. Springfield, Illinois, 0 degrees. And it gets worse as you go north. Minneapolis, Minnesota, minus 29 degrees. Fargo, North Dakota, minus 30 degrees. Those are raw temperatures. Now add in the wind. Because there is a storm system moving through, winds are going to be gusting between 25 and 35 miles per hour in many locations. When you factor in the wind chill, we could be looking at feels like temperatures of minus 40 to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit across the upper Midwest and northern plains on Friday morning. At those temperatures, exposed skin can freeze in less than 5 minutes. You cannot be outside for any length of time without serious risk of frostbite. But here is what worries me even more. That Arctic air is not staying in the north. It is plunging south. St. Louis, Missouri is forecast to be at 8 degrees Friday morning. We are going to be below freezing all the way to the Gulf Coast by Sunday morning. Dallas, Texas could see temperatures in the teens. Houston could drop into the 20s. New Orleans might touch freezing. This is a coast-to-coast cold blast that is going to affect nearly every state east of the Rocky Mountains. And here is why that matters for the storm. Remember that shallow layer of cold air I mentioned? That cold air is going to be locked in at the surface across a huge area. And when the storm system tries to pull warm, moist air over the top of that cold air, we get freezing rain. If it is raining and the temperature is 25 degrees in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Friday morning, that is really, really bad. That is a recipe for a crippling ice storm. And that scenario is not just possible, it is likely for parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and possibly Tennessee. Here's what you need to be doing right now, today, before this storm arrives. Number 1, charge all of your devices. Make sure your phones, tablets, laptops, everything is fully charged. If we do see widespread power outages, you want to make sure you can stay connected. Number 2, stock up on essentials. I am talking about food that does not require cooking, bottled water, medications, baby supplies if you have young children. Do not wait until Friday. Go today or tomorrow. Number 3, check your emergency supplies. Flashlights, batteries, portable phone chargers, a battery-powered radio. If the power goes out for an extended period, you need to have these items ready. Number 4, prepare your vehicle, full tank of gas, winter emergency kit in your trunk, blankets, water, snacks, a flashlight. If you get stranded, you need to have supplies. Number 5, have a plan. If the power goes out, do you have a way to heat your home? If roads become impassable, do you have enough supplies to shelter in place for several days? Think through these scenarios now. Now, before I show you the detailed model data, I want to mention something else that is happening this week. We have a space weather alert. A severe geomagnetic storm is forecast for Tuesday, January 20th. That is tomorrow. An X-1.9 solar flare erupted from the sun, and a coronal mass ejection is headed toward Earth. We are under a G4 geomagnetic storm watch. What does that mean? Well, there is a possibility of aurora lights visible much further south than normal. If you are in the northern United States, you might be able to see the northern lights tonight or tomorrow night. We are talking about possible aurora visibility as far south as Tennessee, Oklahoma, and northern Texas. Could this affect power grids? Could this interfere with communications? The possibility exists, but it is not likely to be catastrophic. Every time we have one of these events, there is a lot of misinformation on social media about needing to unplug everything and prepare for a grid collapse. That is not happening. But if you want to see a beautiful natural light show, keep an eye on the sky Tuesday night. Now, let me dive into the model data because this is where things get really interesting. The GFS model, which is the American model, is showing some concerning trends. It develops the storm system over the southern plains on Friday and then ejects it rapidly to the east. What concerns me about this solution is that it does not really organize a strong surface low pressure. It is more of an overrunning event where moisture just slides east. I have tracked a lot of winter storms, and that does not feel right to me. Typically, when you have this much cold air in place and this much moisture available, you get better storm organization. Other models, including the European model, are showing a more consolidated storm system that develops over the Tennessee Valley and then moves northeast. That solution would likely mean more widespread heavy snow for the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. It would also mean a sharper cutoff between the snow and ice zones, which could actually be better for some areas because at least you would know what you are getting. The GFS solution, with its broad shield of mixed precipitation, is almost worse in some ways because it spreads the ice potential over such a massive area. One thing that really stands out on the GFS is how far south it brings the freezing rain. We are talking about the potential for ice accumulation all the way to the Gulf Coast, Austin, Texas, San Antonio, Texas. These are cities that could see freezing rain on Saturday. That would be absolutely crippling for areas that have zero infrastructure to deal with ice. Meanwhile, the northern edge of the precipitation shield could bring heavy snow to northern Mississippi and Alabama. We could see snow in places like Tupelo and Huntsville. That is not unheard of, but it is relatively rare, and when it happens, it usually brings those areas to a standstill. The national blend of models is giving us some interesting signals. When you average all the models together, you get a decent bullseye for 6+ inches of snow across Kansas and Oklahoma. That makes sense given the setup, but the really interesting bullseye is over central Virginia. The model blend is showing over 12 inches of snow possible for Richmond. When you see that kind of agreement between multiple models several days out, it tells you that there is real potential for a significant event. The question is whether all the pieces come together correctly. This is the type of storm where small changes in the track make huge differences in the forecast. We are talking about a 50-mile shift in the low-pressure track being the difference between a historic snowstorm and a devastating ice storm for millions of people. Tomorrow, we are going to have much better data. The models will have better sampling of the current atmosphere. We will start to see better agreement or we will see divergence, which would tell us the forecast is still highly uncertain. Either way, we will have more specific information about snowfall totals, ice accumulation potential, and exactly which areas are most at risk. Here is what I can tell you with high confidence right now. Somebody in the area from Texas to New England is going to get absolutely hammered by this storm. We are talking about a memorable, possibly historic winter weather event for someone. The southern tier of the storm is likely to see significant icing. The northern tier has the potential for heavy, possibly crippling snowfall, and everyone in between is going to see some combination of the two. This is the kind of storm that shuts down interstates. This is the kind of storm that cancels flights by the thousands. This is the kind of storm that can leave people without power for days in dangerous cold. I am not saying this to scare you. I am saying this so you understand the potential severity and you take the appropriate precautions. If you are someone who loves snow, who gets excited about winter storms, I understand that impulse. But here is the reality check. There is a very good chance that even if you are hoping for snow, you end up on the ice side of this storm. And ice is not fun. Ice is dangerous. Ice causes massive problems. We are hoping for the best possible outcome here. We are hoping this storm trends weaker. We are hoping the ice potential decreases. We are hoping the cold is not quite as severe as currently forecast. But we have to prepare for the worst-case scenario. And right now, the worst-case scenario involves a widespread, crippling ice storm affecting tens of millions of people, followed by multi-day power outages in the coldest air we have seen all winter. Do not be scared, be prepared. That is the motto we live by. In tomorrow's update, we are going to have very specific information about what you should be doing to prepare based on where you live. We are going to have much better snowfall totals. We are going to have better ice accumulation forecasts. We are going to know much more about the track and timing. If things look more serious tomorrow, if the models are showing a worst-case scenario developing, we are probably going to do 2 videos tomorrow to keep you updated. And this is almost certainly going to be the type of storm where we go live to provide real-time updates as it unfolds. So make sure you are subscribed, make sure you have notifications turned on, and make sure you drop a comment with your location so we can give you a personalized forecast update. We are going to be posting updates on every platform. We are going to make sure you have the information you need to stay safe. Here is what is coming in the next video. We are going to break down the exact snow totals for every major city in the impact zone. We are going to show you the ice accumulation maps. We are going to talk about timing down to the hour for when conditions deteriorate in your area. And we are going to reveal which areas are most at risk for the worst impacts. This is developing into one of the most significant winter storms of the entire season. And we are going to be here every step of the way to make sure you know exactly what is coming. The next 72 hours are critical. The forecast is going to change. Models are going to flip-flop, but we are going to cut through the noise and give you the information you need. Comment below with your city and state. Let us know where you are watching from. And we will see you in the next update with much more detailed information. Stay safe out there. This is not a storm to take